One of my favorite aspects of ethnic food is the ability that it gives you to try different flavors and flavor profiles from around the world without actually having to travel, which, especially during a global pandemic, is a pretty good thing. Take, for example, Peru and one of their most famous dishes, Lomo Saltado. It translates roughly to beef stir-fry, which it is, but the name itself doesn't really tell the whole story. It's got elements of carne asada, fajitas, and even steak frites, along with some Asian influences in there as well. You've got rich, fatty, seared pieces of beef, vegetables, crispy potatoes, rice, all brought together with a really awesome condiment called Aji Sauce, which somehow is both spicy and cooling at the same time. It's a really unique plate of food, and one which is totally worthy of dishing out. Alright, so we're going to start off by preparing our french fries. You could totally use frozen french fries. I'm going to be doing mine in the air fryer. You could do them in the oven or you could deep fry them. A lot of options here, but either way, start off with a couple of russets. Square off the sides. No need to peel them as long as you clean the peel itself. Cut them into planks and then into matchsticks. Pick a size and stick to it. I'm going with kind of a small fry here so they'll cook quickly, but as long as you use an even size, it'll work fine. Get those into a bowl of cold water and let them soak for at least half an hour to get some of the starch out of them. Next up, go ahead and cook up some rice. 1 cup of white rice, about 2 cups of liquid. Get that up to a boil, reduce the heat to low, slap a lid on it, give it 15 to 18 minutes, turn it off, slide it off the heat, and just let it steam. Now I'm using a skirt steak for this, but you could use flank steak, ribeye. Just make sure you look at those grains of meat. You want to cut against those. So I'm going to take this down into about 3 or 4 more manageable size pieces. Again, look for that grain. In this case, it's running left to right, or right to left across the screen here. So we're going to cut against it. And I'm doing this at a little bit of an angle or bias cut so I get plenty of surface area on my meat, so I can get plenty of brown crispy edges and bits when we cook it. Once your meat has been cut up into its pieces, we're going to make our aji sauce. So get about 1/4 of a head of iceberg lettuce into a blender or food processor. 1 jalapeno, which you can leave the seeds in or take them out. We're going to get the juice of half of a lemon, or if it's small, a whole lemon down in there. A nice handful of cilantro, and also save some cilantro for a garnish at the end as well. Once that's down in the blender, we're going to add in about half a cup of good old full fat mayonnaise, a couple tablespoons of red wine vinegar, nice seasoning of pepper and sea salt. Lid on this bad boy and blend it until it is smooth. You may have to stop and push everything down in there a couple times. Once it gets rolling though, just let it go for 60 seconds until it gets a nice creamy texture. Go ahead and get that into a bowl. Since it does have mayonnaise in it, I'd put it in the fridge for now while we prep the rest of our ingredients, which is 1 bell pepper. You could use any color you want, but I wanted this dish to be as colorful as possible, so I went with an orange one. Go ahead and slice the sides off, cut it into strips. This is kind of a stir-fry technique that we're doing, so we want to get all of our ingredients prepped so that when we actually go to cook, everything is right there waiting for us. Half of a red onion, which I peeled, and I'm just going to cut into slices. And 2 Roma tomatoes. Just take the very top edge off, slice them in half, and slice those into thirds or quarters depending on how large they are. Set those aside. We're gonna slice up 1 jalapeno. Again, take the seeds out if you want to, but I like this dish to have a little kick, so I left them in. Grab a couple of green onions, slice those up, greens and whites both, please. And now we can deal with our potatoes. I have dried them very thoroughly, but I'm not taking any chances. Once I get them in the bowl, I'm still going to give them a few dabs with that paper towel. It's hard to get things that are wet very crispy. What will help with the crispiness is some olive oil. A couple tablespoons will go down, along with a nice hefty seasoning of salt and freshly cracked pepper. Give those a toss in the bowl to make sure all the seasoning and oil is coating every fry. And those are going to go into an air fryer for about 20 minutes, flipping them halfway through. But you could do them in the oven, fry them, just however you like to cook your potatoes. I'm giving those 10 more minutes. And now we need to make our sauce. A couple tablespoons of soy sauce go down into a bowl. A couple tablespoons of red wine vinegar. I like to add a splash of dark soy sauce, but if you don't have it, just add another tablespoon of soy sauce. About a quarter cup of beef stock. And a sprinkle of cumin, about a teaspoon. And about a tablespoon of cornstarch. That's going to help thicken the sauce at the very end. Stir that to combine, and now we cook. A couple tablespoons of oil go down into a very hot skillet or wok, and add in your beef. This is about 1.5 pounds of steak, so I'm going to have to cook it in batches, no problem. Just season it up, let that first side sear for 2 to 3 minutes. Ideally, we do not want to cook this all the way through, at least not at this point, so go ahead and give it a flip. Give it another minute or two on that side, and get it out of the pan. Wipe out any juices, add more oil if needed, and go in with your second batch of steak. Once that's done, keep on going. Next up, we add in our peppers and onions. Give those a couple minutes to cook. You may need to add a little more oil, may not. After a couple minutes, get your tomatoes and jalapenos in. Give those a couple minutes to cook. We want these to still be a little bit crisp, so don't go crazy and leave it in there for 5 or 10 minutes. Add your green onions, add your steak back. Give that a quick stir to combine everything. And we're going to add in that sauce. Make sure to stir right before you put it in so that cornstarch is thoroughly mixed into the liquid. Stir that around, and if your heat's high enough, it's only going to take about 30 seconds for that cornstarch to gelatinize and thicken. Go in with that cilantro we reserved from earlier. And here's the possibly weird part. We're going to take about half of our beautifully crispy air-fried fries and put those right on in there. Turn off your heat, stir everything to combine, and let's plate this up. Some of our nicely steamed rice goes down on a plate. A couple nice spoonfuls or tongfuls of the lomo. I'm putting some fries on the side. That's sometimes how it's served. Sometimes they're all in the mixture with the meat, but I like them on the side. You do you. Nice sprinkling of cilantro and green onions. A generous dollop of our aji. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite foreign dishes. I've made it several times and it's just got an amazing flavor profile. That aji sauce is cool, the steak is rich and beefy, fries are crisp, and it goes great with the rice. Get a nice punch of tang from the soy sauce and the vinegar, and the cumin adds a really nice flavor note as well. If you want more great content like this, head on over to our website at dishingouteats.com. I really appreciate you watching. Click that bell, subscribe, and leave a comment if you're so inclined. Catch you guys next week.